before we get started, what I want to do is I want to draw attention to this, and it kind of goes and it folds into the first story, and that's that I wanted to address the passing of Robbie Coltrane, who passed away at the age of 72, I believe today or yesterday. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is it kind of hit me. I recently, on one of our episodes, I pointed out that, and I didn't make my point very well, that I get this certain sense of thank you guys.
Thank you.
I get a certain sense of discomfort whenever one of these older actors passes away, because I see how the younger actors behave. I see the way
we were just talking about Tom Felton yesterday.
Yes, and that's why
in comparison to Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe.
But I believe that Tom Felton is the exception and not the rule. But the other thing is that Robbie Coltrane was one of those people, along with Ray Fiennes, who refused to speak ill of J.K. Rowling, and she was back in the news today. Did you see this thing from?
Yeah,
Twitter?
I saw. I look at my royalty checks,
yes.
and the pain that people don't like me anymore.
The absolute
fades away.
The absolute pain. Like I can appreciate it. Yeah, she says I read most of my most recent royalty checks in there in the UK, so they spell checks with a Q.
Yeah, that's funny. But it's like at some point you have so much money that adding more to your hoard of money doesn't really feel like anything anymore. But it is funny that she's still able to have a sense of humor about it.
A lot of people know Robbie Coltrane from the Harry Potter movies. Obviously, he played Hagrid. I just remember him very fondly from two of the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies. He plays a guy named Valentin Zukovsky, who is kind of like Bond shot him in the past, and they have like this kind of mutually beneficial, if tense, relationship that I really like. And he has a really funny line at the beginning of the movie, because remember, this is like right after the fall of the Soviet Union, where he's like going through his bar. It's not a strip club. It's like a place where like someone's performing, and like he zips up this model or lady's like pants on the side and goes, "Free market economy is going to be the end of me," which I just I always to this day I still get a huge kick out of. So rest in peace to Robbie Coltrane. And it really does to me, like whenever one of these celebrities that had a little bit more statesmanship, had a little bit more gravitas, I kind of get sad, because I look at the way someone like Rachel Zegler talks, and it bums me out.
On statesmanship, we've also praised Margot Robbie for her ability to be graceful in the public eye and know when not to speak up.
Yeah, and I think that's becoming a dying art. When not to
use your platform for good, if you will.
I think that's a dying art, to be completely honest. So this is from Bounding Into Comics, and it says that Rachel Zegler says she's bringing a modern edge to Disney's live-action Snow White. She's not going to be saved by the prince or dreaming about true love. I take issue with that right off the bat, because they frame it as if those are like lesser things to want to do. Like, okay, saved by the prince, yeah, but like not wanting to find true love.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
Rachel Zegler, from the beginning of getting tapped for this role, she's had a really positive attitude about it. I understand that, like, she's likable. People like her from West Side Story.
She's the opposite of likable.
I understand. Okay, but I understand from the perspective of her fans why they like her. She seems like a spunky new voice. Whatever. That's not really what I'm concerned with, but it feels like she's been told to make certain comments about what Snow White means for the young people of today, and how she's going to reinterpret the character in her portrayal of it. And I watched her interview at D23, and she was with Gal Gadot both times, who I feel is like the literal evil queen whispering in her ear, telling her what to say. Gal Gadot is like adding her own 2 cents every time that she comments on the character. So Zegler said at D23, the reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. When we came to reimagining the role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power.
Then I have a question. Why does every story have to be that now? Why does every story have to interpret modern sensibilities? Why does a story not have the right to just be what it classically was? If it's going to be what you're calling it, a remake, then you're remaking something from a different time. I'm fine, but with the idea of you making a remake that I'm never going to want to go see or support, but maybe we should have a new term for it. Like, you're not remaking. I'm sick of the term reimagining. You're just changing it. It's not what it was.
The comments on this interview were resoundingly countering what she was saying. So they were saying, why not just write a totally new story instead of twisting the meaning of this old one? Now, I've mentioned before in the context of The Little Mermaid that Disney has twisted the meaning of these original stories for decades. Yeah. They come from folk tales that are very gritty. They have the vibe of like, Grimm's fables, like dark themes, things that kids actually enjoy because kids are the most familiar with like feeling helpless and lost in the world compared to adults, right?
And fairy tales were designed to help kids grapple with that fear.
Yeah, and these fairy tales had dark themes that have been systematically filtered out of them over time by Disney primarily. Yeah. And it was before wokeness was a thing. I would say storytelling has been going downhill since before Rachel Zegler came onto the scene. So I don't see it as totally like her fault that this movie might have like woke overtures. Yeah. But I would blame Disney as a whole before Rachel Zegler.
Well, she takes the role. She does what they ask of them. I want to know why we're so focused on reimagine. Reimagine. Why not just imagine something entirely different?
I mean,
I mean, we know the answer.
we know the answer.
It's not viable. They can't sell it.
Yeah, they don't have the creativity anymore. That's just a fact. Like they are throwing people into a pipeline. We were talking about Warner Brothers yesterday, that they have this bloated diversity, equity, inclusion ring that has people in a pipeline of mentorship up to being executive producers on something like Rings of Power. That doesn't happen accidentally. Yeah. Things are mediocre right now because mediocre people are getting held on pedestals and are way overpowered in creating these shows and movies.
Do you think that they could do a moratorium on promoting these movies with identity politics?
How would that be enforced? What do you mean? Do you think the market would enforce that, or would?
No, I'm saying that should the companies be putting like I was watching a thing that I believe it was Chris Gore from Film Threat did a thing when they were talking about fan baiting, and he talks about how he's like the first thing he would do if he was making a movie now is take away he's like, give me your social media logins. You're not allowed, because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it without.
I remember the first thing Rachel Zegler tweeted after she was tapped for this role was, yes, I'm Snow White. No, I'm not bleaching my skin for the role. And it's like, whoa, like, who asked you to do that? Who even mentioned something like that? Did people even comment on the fact that Snow White got race swapped with you getting the role?
Because she has to make sure that it's known even before it actually gets brought up. She
preempted the hate before it even showed up. Yeah. And in doing so, kind of was rage baiting people by tweeting something like that, and then she quickly deleted it afterwards. But it was always about her and inserting herself and her immutable characteristics and her personality and values into this story.
And I don't think this has any the product being this way might be on Disney, but I don't believe for a second that this doesn't reflect her values and what she believes in the world. That's why it bugs me so much to see older celebrities, older stars passing away, people who had a little bit more understanding that to promote these movies, you need to include everyone and not make it about identity politics.
Well,
maybe partially because they were from a different time where that wasn't seen as a valuable skill set, partially because the younger generation has just been inundated with those messages constantly.
Am I correct that Gal Gadot was one of the celebrities that you praised for having statesmanship?
And that's what I didn't like about...
I have to add what she said in this very same interview that Bounding Into Comics left out. She said, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince and she's the proactive one and she's the one who sets the terms is what makes this so relevant to where we are today.
I hate it.
She made another similar comment when they were on the carpet for D23. She was like, she's not going to be saved by the prince.
Which is weird because in the past she had been
her own savior.
In the past when she had been doing Wonder Woman marketing, promotion for Wonder Woman, she didn't take that same tone, at least not that I recall in the stuff that I was watching.
Is it just that she's not the protagonist in this situation that gives her less pressure and spotlight?
Yeah, maybe
she can let her real opinions out.
Maybe she's just why? What in Hollywood's modern belief system would tell you that her real beliefs wouldn't be allowed from them? I mean, I think that if those are her real beliefs, everything Hollywood pushes would have been just fine by them for her to promote that way. So no, I think that maybe she just...
Is it strategic for her when
it would be cool if she was just being... It would be cool if she was just being really, really in character and just decided to play the evil queen outside of the movie as well.
Well, it literally feels like that because she's standing there about a foot taller than Rachel Zegler.
Yeah.
Looking like, and dressed in all black, looking like she's whispering in her ear, you have to say this about what Snow White is doing for young girls across the nation.
Yeah. Does this
how
work
she's
on you?
such a girl boss compared to the 1937 version.
Does this work on you? Does this let me rephrase it. I know that I know you, so I know that this isn't going to be the same. Do you see this as marketing that works on a younger generation? Because I do. I see when these things are said by younger people, I buy it a hell of a lot more than when I hear it said by people that are closer to, Gal Gadot's age.
I don't know if the goal in Rachel Zegler speaking out like this is for young people to feel it resonates with them. I think if this is for the older generations to see and feel good about themselves, pat themselves on the back for propping up a younger person who touts these beliefs.
Boomers.
But
it's all the boomers' fault.
The angle with influencing the youth here is that they want young people today, like Gen Alpha especially, to not remember any iteration of Snow White except for Rachel Zegler. They don't want them to remember the 1937 version. Firstly, because it is scary.
Yeah.
Rachel Zegler also was quoted saying that this cartoon scared her as a child. Yeah. And that's how a lot of cartoons were, actually. And not just Disney princess movies. Like Tom and Jerry included.
Yeah.
Roadrunner included. Cartoons were extremely violent and hilarious and full of death and destruction and fear as well. Like, I think they had a lot more complex themes than they do today.
Yeah.
And this is just another effort to water them down.
With belief systems that are so modern and so generic and so...
I mean, not even just belief systems, but they're just hollowing it out.
Yeah.
Like, of any depth that it used to have. Because I know it held on to some of its meaning when Disney originally adapted it into a cartoon. It was the first time they ever did something of that scale. The first folktale they took and made into a full-length movie.
Yeah.
And that was like revolutionary, but they did water down the folktale at the time. And now they're watering it down again.
Yeah. Did you see the stuff that she had said about, in fact, I'll read it. The stuff that she had said originally when they were marketing for West Side Story, when basically when Steven Spielberg did the ultimate virtue signal and said, we're going to not put Spanish American subtitles on the Spanish part so that you don't know what the hell they're saying, which is hilarious because it automatically assigns a type of hatred to the people, like as if they didn't learn Spanish and then expect you to speak English to them in this role, when really it's people who are going out to listen to a multilingual project and want to be able to know what's going on. I think that's indicative of the adversarial nature between Hollywood creators and the people that they see as their enemy, but also the people that buy their products. And what she said initially says it's about, so it says, asked about the film's red carpet, why Spielberg the story lacks subtitles for Spanish-speaking scenes, the actress said, it's respect. She repeated, dismissing any fears of potentially alienating audiences who did not speak the language. She says, quote, it's a respect for my upbringing in a Spanish-speaking household. It is a respect for the fact that this nation does not have an official language. They are always and forever hyper-antagonistic towards the people that give them money. And to me, there's nothing wrong with just staying quiet. And like, you don't always need to antagonize. It's not getting people to go to the movies. Nobody went and saw West Side Story. That movie lost like $100 million.
But with a star like Rachel Zegler, who is just gaining relevance and notoriety, you have to wonder whether these are her genuine beliefs.
I do.
She's a younger age. She comes from a different generation. She's been on TikTok. I think she has a distorted view of what audiences want right now.
Yeah.
And she's trying to cater to that. And she gets a lot of fulfillment out of feeling like she is the enlightened person in Hollywood.
What it is. There's a lot of hubris in thinking that you're that you know it all and that you're the evolved and sophisticated one.
Yeah, when you have the awakened opinions about all of these different social issues, you have to acknowledge that like part of your ego is wrapped up in that.
Johnny Derp says Snow White and the Seven Dwarves is ableist. She had all those pint-sized men. Why would she need Prince Charming? Well, there is no dwarves in the new movie. There's just 7 magical creatures that will not be played by dwarves because of what Peter Dinklage said. And then Disney, I heard somewhere that they said that was actually decided beforehand. I could actually see Disney HR preempting like, yeah, we're not going anywhere near that one. Like, but we'll see.
Hobbit also said they have to reimagine things that go against the ideology. If they succeed or fail, the good of the original product is forever tainted by the new. And
they kind of win, like if they are ideologically inclined, they win either way. If it does really, really well, they're like, see, look, ours is better anyways. If it does really badly, they know that it affects the way people see the original, because whether people like it or not, it does. Like a lot of people, it does affect how they feel about a past property when they go back to it. I was watching a lot of the reviews for Halloween Ends, listening to a lot of the reviews for Halloween Ends Day, and they're just bummed because they just didn't. A lot of people didn't feel like it lived up to the expectations of what it should have been for a franchise that's been going on for like a gazillion years.
I think Jamie Lee Curtis said she watched it on mute. Like,
it's
when you remake something or make a spin-off or reboots, sequels, prequels, whatever derivative content you can imagine, you have to ask what this can add that the original creation did not have.
Yeah.
What does the live action remake of Snow White have that the 1937 animated film doesn't have?
Yeah.
That is valuable for viewers.
Yeah.
If all you've got is a new commentary on the role of women in positions of power, then you've got to come up with something more than that.
Do you think, okay, then I have one more question and then we'll move on. Do you think that there's an actual social impact? I watch a lot of videos spanning a lot of topics online, and I see a lot of things where it's like, channels that did border on like the red pill type stuff, and they'll go do on the street interviews with women, and they'll talk about like what's the oldest you'll date a guy if he doesn't have any, like that he can be if he doesn't have any money. They're like 22, 23, 24, then he needs to start being self-sufficient or something like that. What's the oldest you'll date if he does have a lot of money? 49, 59, 60. Has the world changed that much based on the way that they have manipulated the media and the way for people to behave based on gender roles.
You know, another thing I was watching yesterday was a video of a Zoomer girl interviewing other Zoomer girls at a college campus, asking like, how much should a man make if you're going to marry him? And I mean, obviously none of them understand how money works, so they all had drastically different answers.
What were they saying?
Some of them were saying like 1 or 2 million, and then other ones were saying like 100K. Other ones were saying 60, 80K. I mean, it was all over the ballpark, but I think that's because they don't understand money, or like how much things cost, because living on a college campus is intentionally shielding yourself from the conditions that other adults have to live through before you fully enter the adult world. Yeah. But anyway,
do you think this is actually making a difference? Is it changing women to be more independent? I would make the argument that just the fact that that the economy requires everyone to work now has already done more to motivate women to want to work anyways.
Out of fear, though.
Yeah.
It's not a motivation of like self-actualization or wanting to help people or whatever.
How many women
I'm kind of like going off the rails here, but like a woman who is supported by a breadwinner in her household is a lot more free to take risks with her career than a woman who has nothing to fall back on.
That's a big thing in the comic book industries. There's a lot of women that are like that do a lot of work, and then you find out that they're like because the comic industry doesn't pay that well, that they have husbands that make good money that allow for them to have that career that doesn't really pay very well.
When women do groundbreaking things or reach these milestones, what have you, it's often because they are supported by a man in their household who is able to like cushion that blow if a risk doesn't work out. And I think that's a good thing. Yeah. But I don't think that like watching a movie that reimagines the meaning of Snow White is any reason that women are behaving differently these days or are feeling more likely to be independent, take risks, or pursue a career.
I'm picturing like a bunch of like 18 to 20 somethings leaving Snow White, like, never mind, I don't want to get married and have kids. I'm going to go save myself from my bad career that I'm going to choose to have.
For the 18 to 20-year-olds, it's about subverting the version of Snow White that they were originally introduced to. But then for the literal children who are about to see this movie and who are allowed to see The Little Mermaid, it's so that will be the only iteration that they ever see or ever are introduced to. And
so it's on the parents.
They'll be left wondering what was missing later on.
So actually then that's just more responsibility on the parents to introduce them to other versions that actually encapsulate different values. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.